Hello, everyone. We are the Cookie Class, and our goal of this project was to improve cookie production for Legacy Cafe. So our team consists of four members: Ashley, Keegan, Yang, and Elsie. So for the company background, Legacy Cafe is a catering company that is located in the historic Hill District. It is owned by Loretta Payne, who has been an entrepreneur for 13 years. She offers seasonal menu items for events of all different shapes and sizes throughout the Pittsburgh area, and a lot of the names for these items are inspired by people and locations from the jazz era. She rents kitchen space in order to create the items for each catering event, and her main product is the Low-End-Eye Club chocolate chip cookie. The problem that she has run into is that Legacy Cafe has decided that it wanted to increase production of the Low-End-Eye Club chocolate chip cookies. Currently, the process is time-consuming and fatigues the hands and fingers. With hopes of going into the retail business in a couple years, it is important that she changes her process effectively in order to make sure that she can increase production efficiently. So on this slide, you can see a couple of images of us testing the original method. In the first image, Elsie is cutting the cold dough right as it comes out the fridge. In the second, she is weighing the dough to make sure it is about 2.5 ounces. And then in the third, she is using her fingers to push that dough into the mold. And that is actually one of the trays that So after doing a thorough analysis of the original method, we were able to come up with a couple of average numbers. So the first being the average time per cookie, which is about 31 seconds. Next, the average weight per cookie was about 2.51 ounces. And then we could see that there is a range of about 0.15 ounces above and below that average. So in terms of the human factors concerns, the main concern here in our problem is osteoarthritis, aka wear and tear arthritis. So this is when the cartilage between the fingers is worn down and it causes a lot of pain for that person. The main areas that this affects are the mid fingers and the fingertips, and treatment can include anything from simple medications to having surgery. But at the end of the day, we're trying to reduce the risk of osteoarthritis because she is using her fingers so much during her cookie making process. So by using a tamper, we will be able to move the strain from the fingers into the wrists and reduce such risks.
Our solution methodology breaks down into 5 different steps. The first one being initial research. The team looked up a number of different production levels from industrial to small scale to better understand how the cookie making process goes, as well as where our client fell in her level of production. Then we studied the original method. As mentioned, we filmed the client working as well as did a time study of her cookie making process and did some background research as well into her company. We then developed 4 different alternatives. These alternatives all looked at different ways of cookie production that we thought would suit the client. During our alternative testing, we looked at 3 main areas: time per cookie, weight per cookie, and muscle fatigue and stress. We then did our analyses. So this was a human factors analysis to understand how each method was affecting the body, a productivity analysis to see how many more cookies that our client could make with a certain method, and then costs, and then solution development. We also looked at outside information such as FDA standards and constraints that the client had in her current kitchen. This overall would help us formulate our final method as well as give us an understanding of how we would implement it. The flow chart of the final method actually looks very similar to the flow chart of the original method, but there are 3 main changes. We have added an extrusion part, as well as change how the dough is cut and placed into the mold. These are pictures from our final method testing, mainly the extrusion part. So as you can see, warm dough is loaded into an extrusion pump and then pumped out by hand. The cylinders of dough are then placed in the refrigerator for the cooling part of the process. Shown is the second part of the final method. After the dough is cooled, it is taken out of the refrigerator and individual cylinders are placed on a tray. The tray will have lines on it that are equally spaced. By controlling thickness through this cutting method and controlling diameter through the extrusion of the pump, we are able to control the weight of the cookie. This eliminates the weighing step, which is the part that takes the longest in the original method. After the dough is cut, it is placed in the mold. Instead of using the client's fingers to push the cookie into the mold, we're going to use a mallet. This is transferring the stress from the fingers into a stronger muscle group, which that being of the wrist. And it also eliminates time in the process because the mallet only needs to be used once, whereas the fingers need to be used multiple times to actually get an even press into the mold. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the original method and final method results. As you can see, the final method was able to trim about 10 seconds off the original method cookie time, as well as scoring almost exactly the target weight of 2.5 ounces. However, where the final method lacked was in weight variation. The variation started out high, but as testing went on, it actually decreased significantly. This leads us to believe that as our client gets better with the new process, the variation in weight will go down and she'll be able to get more exactly the weight she wants for each of her cookies.
So after doing all the testing that we needed for the original method and method 3, which is our proposed solution for the problem statement, we were able to do a cost analysis with some of the figures that were given to us by our client. In terms of rental, that is at 25 cents per minute, and we were able to drop this price by $10 for making 300 cookies with our new method. In terms of the cost per cookie and packaging, those were constant costs, so there was no change there. For the time per cookie, we were able to drop that down significantly with our new method, which allows her to make more cookies in larger batch sizes. And then in terms of the waste per order, we were able to drop that as well because by using a constant diameter of dough, we were able to make it a little bit easier to cut the cookie into the proper size, and you can have a certain number of cuts per extrusion. So that'll limit the amount of dough needed, and you can even transfer that dough over to the next batch.
Our final recommendations come down to two products. The Wilton Comfort Grip Cookie Press, which will provide a way to extrude dough into dough cylinders to be used later in the cutting process. The Think Chances wooden tamper will be used to press the already cut dough into the mold. Overall, this is a relatively cheap solution to Legacy's cookie production problems, and our group believes that with a minor change in the production process by utilizing these two products, Legacy Cafe will be able to drastically increase their cookie production. First, we would like to thank Legacy Cafe for giving us the opportunity and the challenge of helping them improve their cookie production process. We hope that they implement our solution and find similar results to what we did during our testing. Dr. Badana was also a huge help during the semester by giving us guidance and helping us think outside the box when we were creating our solution. And lastly, we would like to thank Dr. Luang Soren. He was tremendous in helping our team coordinate throughout the semester, as well as also giving us guidance on information we needed and maybe where we should go to find it. Overall, the project was a lot of fun, and I would like to thank everybody who was involved.